A week ago today, Vice President Kamala Harris, as well as former President Donald Trump, met on the debate stage for the first time for their first presidential debate. Today, HarrisX and Forbes has a poll about what voters think about that debate, what went down on that stage in Philadelphia last Tuesday night. Tell us some of your takeaways.
So we conducted a poll between September 11 and September 13. So essentially, the 3 days after the debate. It's over 3,000 registered voters that took the poll with a very small margin of error of less than 2%. And it's really one of the most interesting polls that we have done together with Forbes, in the sense that it's clear that Kamala Harris won the debate, and she used the stage to better her position with voters. All of the metrics of the poll, which we'll get into in a second, are quite positive for her. However, it didn't really move the horse race much. And that suggests one of two different things: either that she has now met a resistance level or hit a ceiling, which could be temporary, and there is an unanswered need amongst voters. And what we're seeing in the poll is really an unanswered need around more depth on the issues and explaining what her positions are. Or this is a harbinger of potentially her opening up a lead on Trump, and it might take a little bit more time, and voters might need to hear a little bit more from her and see her in a few more settings like the debate stage. But she clearly has the edge right now in the election. And not to bury the lead longer, but Harris is up 3 points in the horse race. She's at 48%, Trump is at 45%, and 8% are undecided. And she's roughly 3 points ahead when you factor in those undecideds the way they break the leaners. A slight bump from the last time around, but not a huge bump, at least not as the debate would have you think, right? That she did quite well, and you would expect her opening up a more significant lead than 3 points on Trump.
When I was watching the debate, something I was thinking about was, what are the independent voters thinking? Because there's a section of voters that are never Trump voters, and regardless of what happened on that stage, they're not voting for Donald Trump. Then you have Trump's base, and no matter what happens on that debate stage, they're not voting for Kamala Harris. But after the debate, what are those independent voters thinking?
Great question. So independents, when you factor in leaners, are largely split still, and that makes a lot of sense because independent voters, they're less affected or swayed by the rhetoric and the positioning of the candidates, and these are more issues voters and voters that react to the issues that they feel are affecting their lives and will make them better off or worse off in the future. And in that sense, what we're seeing amongst these independent voters is that you know they are still sitting on the fences, right? Uh, uh, a large group of those undecideds are actually independents. Independents make up the significant majority of undecided voters today.
Well, if they're still sitting on the fence, we're 50 days out, actually less than 50 days out from election day now. So what's going to get them off the fence and either go with Harris, with Trump, sit on the couch, or go with a third party candidate?
Again, I think it's the focus on issues, and I'll explain why in a second. But I just wanted to highlight a point, right? That whereas amongst all voters, only about 8% are undecided, and that's roughly 3% of Republicans that are still undecided and 2% of Democrats. It's 19% of independents who remain undecided. And further to that, when you look at the way those undecided independents are leaning, Trump actually has a little bit of an edge over Harris with those undecided independents. He's winning about 54% to her winning 46%. This number oscillates a little bit in different polls, but at a minimum, these undecideds, which are predominantly independents, are being split. And again, they are still up for grabs. Another way to look at the state of the election is to look at swing voters.